I get it, money isn't a problem for you. All you want is the best phone you can buy right now, and these two are probably right at the top of your shortlist. The brand new iPhone 16 Pro Max and the mature Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra, each company's premier smartphone. So which is better? Let's talk about that. Hey guys, I'm Ryan Thomas, and straight off the bat there are some fundamental features that, depending on your preferences, are going to sway you one way or the other with these two. For instance, the iPhone 16 Pro Max has its new camera control slider, which some might really want, but from my experience it's one of the most useless and gimmicky features I've seen in a long time, but there you go. The camera app for changing settings and zooming was never an issue in the first place, so why add something to the side of it? Probably just to get you to buy the new phone. It doesn't really add any value to the end product in my opinion. And then there's the action button, which not only lets you set notification alerts, but also map to several different shortcuts, including opening that camera, which further eliminates the need for a camera control slider shortcut, but there you go. Whereas Samsung's Galaxy S24 Ultra features a richer suite of features at this present moment, including Samsung DeX, which allows you to hook your phone up to a monitor and use it as a micro desktop computer. It also has the coveted S Pen, which adds easier marking up and drawing functionality to your phone. And I really like the use of this for sort of planning or creating diagrams, something that really not many phones have at all. So it's great that the Samsung S24 Ultra has it, and of course you don't really have an equivalent on the iPhone. There's also the fingerprint scanner versus Face ID debate, which is going to go back and forth. I prefer a fingerprint scanner personally, and the one in the Samsung is probably the best I've ever tried. It's worth mentioning that there is a face unlock on there too, but it's just not as secure as Face ID. So if you do want a face unlock setup, the iPhone has the best setup for that. And right now, if you're into AI, Samsung's Galaxy AI suite is just more featureful, even if it is a little bit gimmicky. There's instant slow-mo, the easy to access interpreter, object removal in photos, and then sketch to image and selfie suite that can create little AI images based on either your own little doodle or photos that you've taken. Apple's AI suite, coming soon, seems to be a little bit more Google Magic AI competitor in that sense, and seems to be a little bit more useful with fewer gimmicks. But that isn't here right now, so I can't really comment on it and I can't review it. So if you're into AI, the Galaxy is the way to go right now. If you're the sort of person to upgrade your phone every 5 or 6 years and get a top-end phone, then I wouldn't worry about any kind of incompatibility here, as Samsung promises updates until 2031, and Apple's 6-year-old XS Max is still on the latest software, so it's pretty easy to say that these two phones are going to be supported till 2030 at a minimum. And I'm not going to try and win you over with iOS versus Android. I'm not going to start a flame war. You can work that one out for yourselves. These are big phones from big hands, and if you're the sort to drop your device, then maybe they're not for you. They're heavy with metal frames and matte glass backs, and I'd be running a case and a screen protector for the amount that these things cost. There's no shame in it. And if you're paying for them on contract, you can usually resell them after 2 to 3 years for really good money. They tend to hold their value very well. They're IP68 rated against the elements. They're both dense and sturdy feeling, but where Samsung's sharper corners and edges look better, I do think that the iPhone's friendlier curves provide better comfort if you aren't the sort of person to run a case on your phone. These displays are absolutely elite and some of the best that you can get. They might not be as good as the Pixel 9 Pro and XL smartphone screens for me, but they're still great for watching films, playing games, though I would argue that a foldable might actually be the better option for that, because obviously it opens up and becomes huge. Either way, these 120Hz Quad HD Plus LTPO OLED screens, they're fantastic. The iPhone screen is generally brighter, at least from my testing in day-to-day browsing and in SDR content, which is most things, though in HDR content, the Galaxy S24 Ultra's panel just gets a hair brighter too, which just makes content pop. But there's not that much HDR content out there, so I guess if you really want that, then go for the S24 Ultra. I think for most people, the Apple panel is the better one. And both phones are equally packed with performance. Both start at 256 gigs of storage, which is how they should start in my opinion, although Samsung offers 50% extra RAM across the SKUs. And while the Apple A18 Pro smokes the 8 Gen 3 in benchmarks like Geekbench, it's not a massive leap day to day compared to seeing those numbers in sort of benchmarks and stuff like that. If you love playing games, both phones offer really immense performance in high-end 3D titles and consistently deliver top frame rates too. It's just that Apple has the edge if raw horsepower is really important to you. And I argue for most people it probably isn't, and the Samsung is still one of the fastest phones you can buy right now. This is not a slow phone. Apple and Samsung have crammed big old batteries into their smartphones, and they're both easily all-day devices for all but the most insane of smartphone user. They can last 2 days for me, so there are going to be people out there who can actually get these things to last 2 days, no dramas. The takeaway is that the Ultra not only delivers a bit better battery life, so is more dependable, but it also is noticeably quicker to charge at around 65% in half an hour versus about 50% in half an hour. Neither charging speeds are really going to blow you away, and if you charge your phone overnight, it's not going to matter which one you go with, but in a pinch, Samsung will give you a little bit more usage time from the same amount of charge time. So you might have heard the claims that the iPhone 16 Pro Max can do 45-watt charging. However, I haven't been able to stand this up, and the highest that I've been able to see it being drawn is about 30 watts. Given what my peers are also able to capture and record, that seems to be the going rate, about 30 watts or less. There's also the theory that it can do 30-watt charging and then also pull a further 15 watts if what you're doing on your phone is, say, gaming at a really high intensity and still want to charge the phone at the same time. But this is all rumors at this point. There is no real way for us to show that it can do 45-watt charging. So take that with a major pinch of salt, because I've seen the 45-watt number going around, but no one's really stood that up. But what about the cameras, I hear you ask? Well, this is a big head-to-head, as the phone's trade blows on the spec sheets with big sensors, big lenses, crazy video recording capabilities, and the results are very interesting. Both camera suites offer heaps of dynamic range, color, contrast, and detail across the scene, and I don't think anyone's going to be disappointed with either of these camera suites. There are certainly photos that I've taken that side by side you really couldn't tell which one took which photo. They are neck and neck in a lot of photos. I think the iPhone tends to expose a smidge brighter by default, but that can be reeled back in by just tapping on the screen and adjusting. I think I generally prefer the natural color palette from the iPhone, but it's hard to deny the Galaxy's quality here. And if you want more punch from your images, then the Galaxy is the way to go. At 5x and beyond, the Galaxy has the clear advantage here with far sharper and more detailed photos, even at the 5x mark, which becomes more apparent in photos that have lots of contrast and clean cut lines and stuff like that, where the iPhone might look better color-wise, but also looks a little bit softer. In selfies, the Samsung captures skin tones more accurately to my eye at the very least, though their photos can look a little bit over-sharpened, especially compared to the iPhones. Generally though, I think for selfies, you're better off going with the Samsung. And in video, you don't get the 8K 30p option on the iPhone, but you do get ProRes log, which for most people will mean nothing, but for pro videographers means a lot. It's an unreal setup with lots of control, and I think in auto video, the iPhone still pips the Galaxy, but it's extremely close, and you might prefer one over the other, and I wouldn't blame you. But if you want to go beyond that and use the proper unfettered codec, then ProRes log with zero dynamic tone mapping really comes into its own. There's no denying that the iPhone 16 Pro Max and Galaxy S24 Ultra are absolutely world-class smartphones that are incredibly capable. But which of them is best? Well, actually I think Samsung's hardware is better with regards to the S Pen, the fingerprint scanner, the battery life. I think it's just more functional of the two in that sense, and it also has all that AI stuff right now if you really want that. Whereas the iPhone has Samsung's number in terms of performance in pro video recording capabilities, and maybe Face ID too if you're really into that, but I wouldn't bother buying it for the camera control pad because it just doesn't seem that good. So Samsung takes the crown here. It provides a more complete package, and there are some pretty decent deals to be had on this thing because it's already been out for a number of months already. You can find it for $200–300 off in some cases, so there's definitely value to be had here. Definitely helping take the edge off of that eye-watering price tag. Which of these two are you picking? Or like me, are you probably actually more of a Pixel fan this year than anything else? Let me know in the comments whilst you're down there. Be sure to hit like if you enjoyed today's content and subscribe to never miss another upload. I've been Ryan Thomas, and I'll catch you later. Cheers.